What if a single stretch of water, just 30 miles wide, could impact gas prices, global trade, military strategy, and the stability of entire economies? Not someday, not hypothetically, but within days. Right now, at this very moment, there is a narrow passage between Iran and Oman where nearly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through. If it gets blocked, even briefly, the ripple effects could reach your wallet faster than you think. This place is called the Strait of Hormuz, and it might be the most important location on Earth that most people have never truly understood. Welcome back to Random Facts, where we break down the hidden forces shaping the world in ways you never realized. Today we're diving deep into one of the most powerful choke points on the planet, a place where geography, history, energy, and military tension all collide. The Strait of Hormuz is not impressive at first glance. It's not massive like an ocean. It's not engineered like the Panama Canal. It doesn't look dramatic on a map. But here's what makes it extraordinary. It's the only sea passage connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. That means countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar, and the UAE depend on it to export energy to the world. Now imagine this. A massive supertanker, longer than 3 football fields, slowly navigating through a shipping lane just a couple miles wide. Now multiply that by dozens every single day. That's Hormuz, a global supply line squeezed into a narrow corridor. Let's put this into perspective. Roughly 20 million barrels of oil per day pass through this strait. That's about 1 out of every 5 barrels of oil consumed globally, and that's not all. Around 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas, especially from Qatar, also moves through here. Now pause for a second. Think about how much of modern life depends on energy. Transportation, electricity, manufacturing, and food supply chains. Now imagine even a small disruption in this one location. Prices spike, markets react, governments pay attention. This is why analysts call Hormuz a choke point, because the entire global system is forced through something incredibly narrow. You might be wondering, why don't ships just take another route? Simple answer, they can't. At least not easily. There are pipelines that bypass the Strait of Hormuz, but they don't have nearly enough capacity to replace the volume that flows through it. And liquefied natural gas, that's even harder to reroute. It requires specialized infrastructure that ties it directly to maritime routes. So Hormuz isn't just important, it's unavoidable. Long before oil tankers, long before global markets, Hormuz was already one of the most valuable trade gateways in the world. For centuries, merchants used this region to connect. Persia, Arabia, India, East Africa. Goods like spices, silk, pearls, and precious metals flowed through these waters. And whoever controlled Hormuz controlled access to trade. There's a famous historical idea often repeated: if the world were a golden ring, Hormuz would be the jewel. That tells you everything. Even in ancient times, people understood something we still see today. Control the choke point. Control the flow. In the early 1500s, a new player enters the story: Portugal. At the time, Portugal was building one of the first global naval empires. Their goal: control trade routes between Europe and Asia. So in 1507, a Portuguese commander named Afonso de Albuquerque attacked Hormuz. And by 1515, Portugal controlled it. They built a massive fortress on Hormuz Island, remnants of which still exist today. For over a century, the Portuguese dominated this strategic gateway. Think about that, a European empire controlling a critical Middle Eastern trade choke point 500 years ago. Eventually in 1622, Persian forces with help from the English pushed them out. But the lesson remained: Hormuz has always been worth fighting for. Fast forward to the 20th century, the world becomes dependent on oil, cars, planes, industries, all powered by energy. Suddenly, the Persian Gulf becomes one of the most important regions on Earth, and the Strait of Hormuz becomes its exit door. Now this ancient trade route transforms into a modern energy lifeline, and that makes it a strategic hotspot. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, something dangerous happened. Both sides began attacking oil tankers, not just military ships, commercial vessels. This phase became known as the Tanker War. The goal? Cripple the enemy's economy. But when you attack tankers in one of the world's most critical shipping routes, you don't just affect one country, You affect everyone. Insurance costs skyrocketed. Shipping became risky. Global markets started reacting. Eventually, the United States stepped in, escorting tankers through the region. Because if Hormuz became too dangerous, the entire global energy system could feel it. In 1988, tensions exploded. After a U.S. warship struck a mine, the U.S. launched Operation Praying Mantis. It became the largest U.S. naval battle since World War II. Ships were destroyed, oil platforms were attacked. This wasn't just a regional conflict anymore. This was global power projecting force in one of the most sensitive locations on Earth. That same year, tragedy struck. A U.S. warship mistakenly shot down Iran Air Flight 655. All 290 people on board were killed. It was a devastating reminder of how dangerous this region can be, where tension, traffic, and military presence collide. Today, the Strait of Hormuz is still heavily monitored. There have been tanker seizures, drone incidents, military standoffs. Iran has repeatedly threatened to close the strait during conflicts. Meanwhile, global powers maintain a strong presence to keep it open. And here's what makes it even more powerful: it doesn't even need to close. The fear of disruption is enough to move markets. A full closure would be extremely difficult. But even partial disruption could cause oil price spikes, supply chain chaos, and global economic instability, because modern economies rely on predictability, and Hormuz represents uncertainty. Behind all the numbers are real people, sailors navigating dangerous waters, families affected by fuel costs, and workers in energy-dependent industries. Most people will never see the Strait of Hormuz, but they will feel it. The Strait of Hormuz proves something powerful. The most important places in the world aren't always the biggest. Sometimes they're the narrowest. A small stretch of water, a tight passage, a single point where everything passes through. And when everything depends on one place, that place becomes powerful beyond its size. If you found this video fascinating, hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, which global choke point should we break down next? The Suez Canal, the Panama Canal, or the Strait of Malacca? Because some of the most important stories in the world are happening in the places most people never look.